Hey guys, this is Diesel from Imagineyourgoddess, and today I'm going to go ahead and do a deck profile for you. This deck was brought to you by request. It is a Dark Irregulars deck of Bladewing Reijy. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into things. Just listen up, and hopefully you will be able to build and play this deck. It's a little rougher than most decks, I won't lie. So listen closely. First off, we start with Vermilion Gatekeeper. Now, unfortunately, I feel like I'm going to have to defend every choice I made in this deck because people ask questions all the time. The main answer is I do what I want, but I'll try to keep things in ideas for you. Vermilion Gatekeeper is when another Dark Irregular rides it, you may soul charge 1. A lot of people ask me why I wouldn't run Greedy Hand instead. The main reason is that the secondary Vanguard in this is Amon, and it gets very counterblast heavy toward the end. So you don't want to waste your counterblast on things that aren't necessary. Yes, this doesn't give you that choosable soul charge, but on the upside, it doesn't hurt either, because you're just rushing as much charge as you can. So that's why I run Vermilion Gatekeeper. Let's go ahead and talk about triggers real quick. As usual, I run 4 heal. 4 heal in our thing is staple. I like Curse Doctor better than Cheshire Cat, because I like the way it looks. Then I run 4 copies of Hysteric Shirley. Hysteric Shirley is a draw trigger that when you have it on the rear guard, you can put it in your soul to soul charge 1. That gives you that extra little boost to try to get Reijy out on the field as quickly as you can. Then I run 4 copies of Dark Knight of Nightmare Land. He can be put in the soul to give +3 to one of your Dark Irregulars. Another good soul charger, and also a crit. Then it runs 4 copies of the other crit Blitz Ritter. 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal. It used to run 8 draw because I felt like I wasn't getting enough hand size. But upon reflection, you really need to put pressure on in this deck. And if you're running 8 crit, you are applying pressure. So that's why I run triggers the way I run them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get into the grade 1s. Now, a couple grade 1s, I run 2 copies of Devil Child. Devil Child's ability is that when she boosts a Vanguard and you have 6 or more cards in your soul, she gets +4. So she's a 10k booster. I run 2 of her because you will often have 6 cards in your soul, and there's no reason not to have a 10k booster for your Vanguard, especially Reijy, because that puts you at 20, which is a number against 10s, something worth doing. Then I run 4 copies of the Perfect Shield. I'm not going to go over why you need perfect shields. They are nice. I also like March Rabbit's art. Then we run 4 copies of Alluring Succubus. Now you'll see a lot of Succubus in this deck. What this one does is when it's on Rearguard or Vanguard, when it's ridden or when it gets called, you can soul charge 1. This couples nicely with a couple cards that you'll see in the grade 2 slots, but in general it's just that reckless charging to get you set up for a good game. Then, finally, we run 4 copies of Courting Succubus. Now, Courting Succubus is a 7k booster that when it boosts and the attack hits a Vanguard, you can soul charge 1. So, this card allows you for more what-if pressure. Your opponent sees it boosting something, and they go, well, do I really want to let that through knowing that it's going to give them another card in their soul, setting them up better for a Reijy build? It's usually really good on turn 1 and turn 2, because your opponent still wants to let some damage through, and you're just setting yourself up for good soul charging. That is my grade 1 lineup. Let's get into the grade 2s. In grade 2s, I have 4 Flirtatious Succubus. Flirtatious Succubus is just like Alluring. When it's placed on Vanguard or Rearguard, you may soul charge 1. Again, couples well with cards in the deck. I will talk about the cards it couples with right now. I run 4 copies of Decadent Succubus. Decadent Succubus is a 9k grade 2. When it's the Vanguard and you place a Dark Irregular on the Rearguard, you may soul charge 1. So this card is sort of your bread and butter for soul charging in this deck. A very good opener on turn 2 is you ride Decadent, and then you play a couple of Flirtatious and a couple of Alluring, And every time you should be soul charging 1, you're soul charging 2. And that adds up really, really fast. If you can get 2 of those effects on the field, that kicks 4 cards into your soul. And it's just so worth it. I highly recommend riding Succubus anytime you can. And turn 2 is when you want to start playing stuff out of your hand. Now that does put you in a bad position if your opponent's got a lot of guard or a lot of stuff to bring out on their next turn. This is definitely a deck that benefits from going first. But I like it. I think that it runs fast and it soul charges super duper quick. And in case you're not soul charging quick, the last grade 2 I run is 3 copies of Emblem Master. Emblem Master has an ability that when it hits a Vanguard, you may counterblast 1 and soul charge 3. This ability helps you set up so quickly for Reijy. And if your opponent knows you're running Reijy, they will guard to the teeth on this card. And that often sets you up in great position to do some damage with the grade 3s in this deck. So that's my setup there. Oh, one thing about grade 1s real quick. Some people ask me why I don't run Demon Bike. I don't run Demon Bike because Demon Bike is an ineffective card. It's a 6k, I believe, maybe a 7k. But its ability is for each Demon Bike in the soul, it gets +1 on your turn. Now that makes it a pretty decent booster if you get all 3 Demon Bikes in your soul, and if your opponent doesn't kill it, and if you get to keep it on your thing. So one of the things that you got to be careful about is letting damage go. Letting Demon Bike go into damage, letting Demon Bike go into the graveyard, or whatever. It just takes too much prep, so I don't bother with it. Okay, finally let's get into the grade 3s. I'm running 3 copies of Bladewing Reijy. Now Bladewing Reijy is the way this deck is supposed to be built. It is what you want to have in the end game. The reason being that if the number of Dark Irregulars in your soul are 13 or more, or 15 or more rather, sorry, it gets an additional +2 crit. Okay? And when it's placed on Vanguard, you can choose one of your Dark Irregular rearguards, search your deck for 3 cards with the same name, and put them into your soul. So basically what he does is he lets you put up to 3 cards into soul, setting up for his 15, and then he is a 10k with 3 crit. Now 10k isn't a very big number. You definitely want to get either a Courting Succubus or a Devil Child behind it. But when you're swinging for 1 or 2 stages of damage with the potential of 3 crit, maybe even 5 crit if you double check crits, they will be blocking a lot. And that helps set you up just major pressure. Okay? The other cards in the deck are 2 Dark Lord of the Abyss. Dark Lord of the Abyss has a limit break 4 that you can counterblast 2, and it lets you soul charge 2, and then it gets Amon's effect, the +1000 for each Dark Irregular in your soul. Okay, it also has the ability that if you have a non-Dark Irregular Vanguard or Rearguard, it gets -2k, so you cannot be running anything but Dark Irregulars in a Dark Lord build. But what he allows you to do is you're at 11 cards with the things. You put out him, you use his LB4, you push him up to 13 cards in soul, and he gets +13. Then you could use it again if you needed to, push yourself up to 15 cards in soul, and he gets an additional +15, because you can use his effect multiple times. So this can give you one heavy hitter, amazing heavy hitter for a turn, and force your opponent to super block, and that's really hard to do. Okay? Finally, the secondary Vanguard, in my opinion, in this deck is Amon. Amon's ability is during your turn, he gets +1k for each Dark Irregular in your soul, and you can counterblast 1 and put a Dark Irregular rearguard into your soul to make your opponent choose one of their rearguards and retire it. So often what I'll do in this deck is, I know I'm not yet close to 15 cards in the soul. I'll play out Amon, and I'll start killing my own rearguards, killing, meaning putting them in the soul, to kill my opponent's rearguards. This works well because it makes them do a Sophie's Choice thing, where they have to choose between rearguards. And at first they'll get rid of the rearguards they like, but the more counterblasts you have, the harder the choice becomes for them, and then they have to really think about what they want to get rid of. My usual desire with this is to counterblast until they get rid of the card that I want them to get rid of. So if my opponent is not playing correctly and they get rid of the card that I want right away, that's fine. I just let it go. If not, then I keep going. It's usually, even for the best players, they can't predict what I want gone. And that makes it hard for them to figure out what cards to get rid of to waste my counterblasts. In the meantime, I'm building up soul, attacking with a big beater until I can hit Reijy and know that Reijy works. Now, one of the big strategies for this deck is to ride Amon first, build up like that, and make your opponent just force them to waste all the cards in their hand, because it's like, you're swinging with a 33, I have to perfect because I'm at 4 or 5 damage. And they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and then you ride Reijy, you get them to 15 soul, and then you're like, I've got a 17, and it's swinging for 3 crit. What are you going to do? You can also do that the opposite way if you're hitting your numbers right. Ride Reijy, you're at 15 soul, suddenly they start blocking everything because they do not want to get hit by 2 crit. 3 crit, sorry. So they keep blocking and blocking, and then eventually, you know they've got a couple cards in hand, but they're set up to take damage. You should be able at that point to ride Demon World and just demolish. Or keep the Reijy and demolish. This is all about attacking with the Vanguard first, putting on the pressure, and getting the job done. So that is it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. You can tell me what you like and what you don't like, changes that you might have made. I might be able to tell you a little more about the decisions I made for this deck. But in general, this deck is for fun. It's there to give you something to play with, and I really hope that you guys go out there and try it, because it is amazingly fun, especially when it triggers. This is Diesel from Imagine Your Goddess. I'll talk to you guys soon.